These days it feels like everything at the grocery store costs more than it used to. So when we see a carton of eggs on sale, especially if they're marked down because they're a little cracked or the expiration date is getting close, we might be tempted to grab them and think we're getting a good deal. But here's something important I want to share with you, that small savings today could cost you a lot more tomorrow, especially when it comes to your health. I've seen it too many times. People trying to stretch their budget, picking up eggs that seem just fine on the outside, only to end up feeling sick, or even winding up at the doctor's office, all because of a hidden issue they didn't notice at the store. That's why in today's video, we're going to talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough. 5 types of eggs you should never buy, no matter how cheap they are. We're not just talking about taste or texture here. We're talking about protecting your well-being, avoiding harmful bacteria, and making sure what you bring home is truly safe to eat. And don't worry, this isn't about fear. It's about wisdom. It's about learning how to spot the warning signs so you can shop with confidence and peace of mind. So whether you live alone or you're cooking for your spouse, your grandkids, or just trying to take good care of yourself, this video is for you. 1. Cracked eggs. The hidden danger. Let's start with the first kind of egg you should never, ever bring home. Cracked eggs. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You're standing in the grocery store, looking at a carton that's marked down. Maybe just 1 or 2 eggs have a tiny crack. The rest look fine. And that price, it's hard to walk away from a deal, especially these days. But let me tell you something important. A cracked egg isn't just a cosmetic issue. That little line on the shell may be invisible at first glance, but it could be the open door that lets something much more dangerous get inside. Bacteria. The shell of an egg is more than just packaging. It's a natural barrier, kind of like a suit of armor. It protects the inside of the egg, the part you eat, from the outside world. When that armor is cracked, even slightly, it's no longer doing its job. Harmful bacteria like salmonella can get in, and once they're inside, they can multiply fast. You won't always be able to smell it. You might not see anything wrong when you crack it open, but those bacteria don't need much time to grow. And if you eat that egg, it could lead to some serious problems. We're talking about symptoms like nausea, stomach pain, vomiting, diarrhea, and dehydration. And let's be honest, when you're older, your body doesn't bounce back the way it used to. What might just be an uncomfortable day for someone younger could turn into a hospital visit for us. Our immune systems naturally get a little weaker with time. That's why prevention matters more than ever. And here's something else most folks don't realize. Cracked eggs spoil faster. The broken shell allows air and moisture in, and that speeds up the breakdown of the egg inside. Even if you cook it thoroughly, you're still taking a risk. Now, some stores might try to reassure you. They'll say, "Oh, it's still good, just a small crack." But the truth is, when it comes to food safety, especially for older adults, there's no such thing as just a small crack. So next time you're shopping, take a moment to open the carton. Gently lift each egg. Check for any cracks or chips, even hairline ones. If you find any, move on. It's not worth the risk. Think of it this way. Saving 50 cents today isn't worth feeling sick tomorrow. Better to leave those cracked eggs on the shelf and choose a fresh, intact carton instead. And if you agree, take a moment to comment below. I never buy cracked eggs. My health comes first. Let's look out for each other and always choose wisely. 2. Spotted eggs, a warning. Hiding in plain sight. Now let's talk about the second kind of egg you should think twice about before putting in your cart. Eggs with visible spots or marks on the shell, especially dark brown, reddish, or blackish spots. You might see them and think, "Oh, it's just a little dirt," or "That's probably natural." And in some cases, yes, small spots can be harmless. But here's what most people don't know. Those spots can sometimes be a signal of deeper problems, not with the egg itself, but with the hen that laid it. See, the health of the egg is tied directly to the health of the bird. When a hen is under stress, not getting proper nutrition, or living in poor conditions, the eggs she lays can reflect that. Brown or discolored spots on the shell may be signs that the hen had a deficiency, often in an essential nutrient like methionine, which helps support the immune system. Now, why does that matter to us? Because when hens aren't healthy, their eggs may be more vulnerable to contamination. If their immune system is weak or they're raised in cramped or dirty environments, those eggs may not develop properly or may spoil more easily once they're out of the coop. There's also the issue of how the eggs are handled and stored. Sometimes discoloration happens when eggs are kept in places where temperatures go up and down, like being left out too long or moved in and out of refrigeration. That stress on the egg can cause the shell to develop dark patches or marks. Again, not always dangerous, but definitely worth paying attention to. And here's something we older folks understand better than most. When something looks off, it usually is. We've seen enough in life to know that trusting your gut isn't old-fashioned, it's wise. So here's my advice. When you're checking your eggs, look closely at the shell. It should be even in color, free from spots, smudges, or sticky residue. If you see unusual markings, skip that carton. Choose eggs that look clean and uniform. It's one of the simplest ways to protect yourself from poor quality products. You may be wondering, but aren't those just cosmetic flaws? Sometimes yes, but sometimes no. And when it comes to your health, it's better to be cautious than sorry. So next time you're shopping, slow down just a little. Take a good look. It could save you from bringing something home that was never worth the risk in the first place. If you agree, leave a comment below that says, "I always check for spots. Quality matters." Let's keep making mindful choices because we've earned the right to live well and eat well. 3. Smelly eggs, trusting your nose. Now let's move on to something many of us already know deep down, trusting our nose. That's right. Your sense of smell is one of the most powerful tools you have when it comes to staying safe in the kitchen. And when it comes to eggs, it might just save you from a very unpleasant experience. Here's the thing. A fresh egg should have no smell at all. Nothing. Maybe the faintest hint of something clean or neutral. But if you crack one open and there's any kind of strong odor, sour, sulfur-like, fishy, or just plain bad, that's your warning sign, loud and clear. Do not eat that egg. Why does this happen? It's pretty simple, really. As an egg starts to spoil, the proteins inside begin to break down. That breakdown produces sulfur compounds, and those are what give off that awful smell. You might recognize it as something similar to rotten cabbage or a wet mop that's been left out too long. Not exactly the aroma you want when you're making breakfast. Now, what causes an egg to go bad in the first place? Several things. It could be old age, poor storage conditions, or even contamination from bacteria like salmonella. And sometimes it happens faster than you'd think, especially if the eggs were left out of the fridge too long or stored somewhere that gets too warm. Unfortunately, eggs can still look okay even when they're spoiled. The yolk might be whole, the shell might be clean, but once you get a whiff of it, you'll know something's not right. And for those of us in our golden years, this matters more than ever. Our bodies are a little more sensitive. Foodborne illnesses can hit harder and take longer to recover from. That's why we need to be especially careful about what we allow into our kitchens and onto our plates. So here's my advice. Always trust your nose. If something smells off, throw it out. Don't second guess yourself. Don't try to make it work or hope it gets better once it's cooked. Eggs that smell bad are already compromised, and no recipe, no matter how good, can fix that. Remember, we grew up in a time when folks didn't waste much, but we also knew when something had turned. We didn't need fancy gadgets to know when food had gone bad. We had our senses, and they've served us well for decades. So if you're about to crack an egg and something smells fishy, or worse, do yourself a favor and toss it in the trash. Your stomach will thank you. And if you're someone who trusts your nose just like I do, leave a comment below that says, I always trust my nose. Because wisdom, especially in the kitchen, is one of the most powerful tools we have. 4. Watery eggs, the shake test. Let's talk about something that most people overlook, but once you learn it, you'll never forget it. It's called the shake test, and it's one of the simplest ways to check if an egg is fresh before you even crack it open. Now, when you pick up an egg and give it a gentle shake near your ear, you might hear something. If the egg is fresh, it should feel firm, solid. You won't hear anything moving inside. But if it makes a sloshing or watery sound like something loose is shifting around, that's a warning sign. That egg is likely past its prime. So why does this happen? Inside a fresh egg, the yolk is tight and the egg white is thick. They hold together well and stay centered when you crack it into a pan. But as the egg ages, the proteins start to break down. The egg white becomes thin and watery, and the yolk starts to flatten. That loose, sloshy sound you hear when shaking it, that's the result of the egg's internal structure falling apart. It doesn't always mean the egg is rotten, but it does mean it's older. And older eggs are more likely to carry bacteria, especially if they weren't stored properly. If that egg sat too long in a warm place, or if it's been through temperature changes, it can go bad a lot faster than you'd expect. Here's the thing. Eggs are delicate. The quality can change quickly, and as we age, our bodies become less forgiving when it comes to spoiled or contaminated food. That's why it's better to be safe than sorry. So next time you're picking eggs from the fridge or even from the carton at the store, give them a gentle shake, not rough, just enough to feel what's going on inside. If you hear sloshing, skip it. If it feels quiet and stable, you're likely holding a fresher egg. And here's another tip. When you crack that egg into a bowl, pay attention to how it spreads. A fresh egg will stay compact. The yolk stands tall and the whites hold together. But an older, watery egg will spread out thin and flat. That's another clue it's not what it should be. This is one of those small habits that can make a big difference. It doesn't cost anything. It takes just a second, and it gives you a little peace of mind, something we all value more as the years go by. So if you're like me and you believe that every meal should start with quality, safe ingredients, go ahead and leave a comment that says, I'll shake it first. Sometimes the best wisdom is the quietest, and a gentle shake might be all you need to protect your health and enjoy your breakfast without worry. 5. Smooth eggs. Why shiny isn't always safe. Let's move on to the 5th type of egg you should avoid. And this one might surprise you. It's not about cracks or smell or even sound. It's about how the egg feels in your hand. Have you ever picked up an egg and noticed it felt unusually smooth or even a little shiny? You might have thought, well, that's a good-looking egg, clean and polished. But here's the truth. When it comes to eggs, shiny doesn't mean fresh. In fact, it can mean the opposite. A freshly laid egg has a slightly rough, chalky feel to it. That texture comes from a natural coating called the cuticle, or bloom. It's nature's way of protecting the egg from bacteria and moisture loss. It seals up the tiny pores on the shell and keeps the inside safe. But over time, that protective coating begins to break down. And when an egg has been sitting around too long, or if it's been overwashed to make it look pretty and market ready, the shell becomes smooth, even glossy. That shine might look appealing, but it's often a sign that the egg is older or has been handled too aggressively. Now, why does this matter? Because once the cuticle is gone, the egg becomes more vulnerable to bacteria, moisture loss, and spoilage. It ages faster. And just like with people, when the defenses are down, trouble can get in more easily. This is especially important for us as we get older. Our immune systems don't bounce back the way they used to. Something as simple as an egg past its peak could lead to days of discomfort, or worse. So here's a little wisdom for your next grocery trip. Pick up the eggs, feel them. If they're too smooth or slick, especially if they seem shiny under the lights, they might not be your best choice. Instead, go for eggs that have a slight powdery feel, a matte texture, not a gloss. And remember, just like a person, an egg doesn't need to look perfect to be good. A little roughness on the outside can mean it's still strong and healthy on the inside. So next time you're shopping, don't just look at the eggs, feel them. Your fingertips might just tell you what your eyes can't. If you've ever picked up an egg and noticed that slippery shine, and now you know why it matters, leave a comment that says, "I'll be checking for rough shells from now on." It's one more simple habit that helps you eat smarter, feel safer, and make choices that protect your well-being. How to choose the freshest eggs. Now that you know what not to buy, let's end on a high note. Let's talk about how to pick the freshest, safest, and most reliable eggs every time. Because the truth is, when you're standing in that grocery aisle, you've got more power than you might think. With just a few quick checks, you can choose eggs that are not only safe, but delicious and nutritious too. First, check the date on the carton. This might seem obvious, but don't just glance at it, read it carefully. Look for the best by or sell by date. The farther out that date is, the fresher the eggs likely are. But keep in mind, eggs can sometimes sit on the store shelf for days before they make it to your cart. So if that date is getting close, you might want to choose a different carton. Second, open the carton and look inside. Don't be shy. Lift the lid and inspect each egg. Are the shells clean and unbroken? Are they free from spots, cracks, or sticky residue? A good egg will look dry and have a soft, chalky feel, not glossy or slick. You have every right to take a moment and make sure you're getting what you're paying for. Third, do the shake test, just like we talked about earlier. Pick up the egg and give it a gentle shake next to your ear. If it sounds sloshy or loose inside, that's a red flag. Fresh eggs don't make noise. They feel solid and stable. Trust that instinct. Fourth, try the float test at home. If you're ever unsure about eggs you already bought, fill a glass or bowl with water. Gently lower the egg in. If it sinks and lays flat on its side, it's fresh. If it stands upright or floats, it's old and should probably be tossed. It's a simple trick and it really works. Fifth, consider choosing organic or pasture-raised eggs. Now, I know they cost a little more, but often those eggs come from hens that are better fed and better cared for. That means a stronger immune system in the bird and better nutrition in the egg. When it comes to food safety and quality, you really do get what you pay for. And here's something to keep in mind. Choosing quality food is not just about taste. It's an investment in your health, your energy, and your peace of mind. That's something you've earned, and it's worth protecting. So the next time you're at the store, take your time. Look, feel, shake, read the label. Be that thoughtful, wise shopper you've always been. You're not just buying eggs, you're taking care of yourself and the people you love. And if this little guide helped you, leave a comment that says, "I always check my eggs before I buy." Let's keep sharing these tips so others can benefit too. Because a little wisdom goes a long way. And when we help each other make smart choices, everybody wins. Let's take a moment to wrap everything up. Today, you and I talked through 5 types of eggs you should never buy, no matter how cheap they are. And more importantly, why it matters. We started with cracked eggs, those tempting discount deals that can carry dangerous bacteria like salmonella. Then we looked at spotted shells, those little blemishes that might signal poor hen health or storage problems. We moved on to something you know better than anyone, your nose, and how that foul smell is your body's way of saying, this isn't safe to eat. From there, we learned about watery eggs and how a simple shake can reveal the age and freshness inside. And finally, We covered smooth, shiny shells, a surprising sign that an egg may be older than it looks, and not worth the risk. Each of these may seem like small things, but when it comes to food safety, especially for those of us over 60, small decisions make a big difference. Our bodies change. Our immune systems slow down. We don't bounce back from a bad meal the way we did in our 30s or 40s. But that doesn't mean we have to live in fear. It just means we live a little wiser. That's what Elders Insight is all about. Not just information, but understanding. We talk about the things that matter. We learn from each other. And most of all, we look out for one another. So the next time you're standing in that grocery aisle, I hope you remember today's conversation. Take your time. Trust your instincts. Check those shells. Give that egg a shake. Smell before you scramble. And don't be afraid to pass on a deal if it doesn't feel right, because you deserve food that's safe, fresh, and nourishing. You've earned that through years of hard work, care, and wisdom. Let's honor that with every choice we make. And hey, if this video helped you, if even one of these tips gave you something useful to take with you, share it with a friend. Maybe a neighbor, maybe your daughter or grandson, maybe someone who shops for you. It might just help them too. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Here on Elders Insight, we're building a community of thoughtful folks who believe that growing older just means growing wiser, and we'd love to have you with us. Until next time, stay safe, eat well, and never stop learning. I'll see you in the next video.